It's snowing. I didn't move up here from Southern California to not have snow on Christmas. We don't have childcare tonight. So, do we? Am I wrong right now? Am I making a false announcement? Hang on a sec. Maybe the preacher doesn't have to be short. I was going to shorten it if the kids were in here, so I don't know. No, this will be shorter than it usually is. So, hang on a second. This is parents are like, please let there be. So I was actually right for a change. Awesome. I'll try to be quick. It's okay. We're okay with noise. We're okay with restlessness. Parents, don't feel one bit ashamed, embarrassed. We love the kids in here. They belong here. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and all things were made through Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. And in Him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. We'll focus on this. And we have seen His glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. There's a lot of things in this world, this is going to sound horrible, bear with me, that I love. And there's a lot of things that I've come to love as I've gotten older, but maybe none more than home. I'm a huge fan of home. Maybe not what you expected. I do not, like I said, mean making this world my home, but I love the idea, the concept, everything that's wrapped up in what makes home home. I love home. I love to be at home. I'm definitely what you call a homebody. Staycations are my favorite. This stinks for my wife. My wife's adventurous. She's always on her computer finding new places on the farthest reaches of the globe that she wants me to take her to, you know? And so almost every week there will be a new one that she points at, and someday and someday and someday. And I'm usually just like, I got an idea. Let's just stay home. Like forever, you know? Forever and ever. So my wife got the bad end of the deal in this marriage. I love my slippers, my little Mac Daddies. I like my Snugglies. I'll be honest. I like my toilet. I like my own toilet. I like my shower. I like my bed. I like my space. One that's outfitted and designed by me, for me, for the purpose of making it feel like home. Home is personalized, it's private, even though I also do like sharing it, I really do. I mean that's all part of what makes home home, like feel like home. It's a place that gets us. It's a place that we get. I love it because it's the place I feel most at ease, like myself, comfortable, it's familiar. It's safe, it's predictable, even. At home, we can truly be ourselves. We can feel like ourselves. No pressure, no pretense, it's honest. It makes us honest. And so when me and Carrie do go away, coming home's the raddest part of the whole deal. I like homecomings. It's hard for me to imagine not having such a place and space in my life. And so it's really hard for me to imagine that the God of the universe would leave His to come to mine. It is most difficult for me to imagine that the Godhead chose to disrupt their most perfect home life to come to somebody like me. What a downgrade. You know, talk about Park Place to Park Bench, right? The Son of God left home for me. And He left home for you. And yet this is precisely the beauty of what we celebrate this season, isn't it? It's the amazement of the incarnation. I mean, oftentimes, I can't even stand to be around myself. You guys have heard this, you know? And the crazy thing is that he sees more about me than I do. He knows more about me than I do. And yet, here comes Jesus, you know? Into my life, into my pitiful, lowly home, leaving his home, his zip code, to come to mine. And for what? Well, it seems just so he could get close to me. Or most importantly, so that I could get close to him. It seems he did so to make a home with me, with you, with sinners. And that I am a place where God desires to be doesn't make any sense to me. But rest assured, this is the truth about Christmas. This is the magic of it even, if you will. It's so unbelievable that I check every year to see if I'm still getting the story straight. Because it's such an incredible story, right? One of the primary distinctives that makes Christianity so different from all other world religions that exist is that they all center around telling us how to get to God, how to find our way home. But Christianity, on the other hand, stands alone, being centered on the heralding and the proclamation of a God who has left his home to come to us, stooping down from the highest heights of his divine dwelling so that we might one day have one. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Notice that he did not stand his ground and say, figure it out. Try a little harder, be a little better, reach a little higher, keep climbing, keep striving, keep searching. No, he said, don't worry, I'm coming. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. I remember one of the first times that, I think I was like 7 years old, that I stayed the night at a friend's house. I had a sleepover. It's just a dude like 4 houses down from my house. Very familiar. And it was one of the longest nights of my life. Did I mention that I'm a homebody? I love home. I think this is the first time I found that out, like realized that. The darkness was darker. The sounds in the night were weirder. The bed was way more uncomfortable. The thoughts were darker. Everything was bad about it. And I wrestled and wrestled and wrestled and fought to not have this dude's mom call my dad to come get me, right? Because I didn't want my dad to be disappointed. I didn't want him to be ashamed. I didn't want him to have to get out of bed in the middle of the night to come down the road and get me. But he did. And when he did, my dad was not mad, nor disappointed. But to my surprise, he was pleased to come and get me. And he told me that it was okay. Just as God was pleased to come and get you and I and leave his home. The text does not say man became like God and dwelt among him. It says the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. With all religions, man is and has to be the prime initiator. But the good news of Christianity is that God is alone, bringing with him robes of righteousness, clothing for our nakedness, and a sacrifice poured out that blankets our shame and our guilty stains. And so 2,000 years ago, he made his home here. He set up shop here. He dwelt here among sinners. And for him, that home didn't look or feel as good as mine does. Because a large part of his earthly life, home for him, was in places where he didn't have a pillow to lay his head. Often he was in the dirt, often rocks, the elements, the wildlife, sometimes eating little to nothing, requiring little to nothing, with most of whom he came to, not even meeting him with greeting or shouts of joy, but insults and mockery and rejection and violence, enduring it all while just prior having everything. What a serious downgrade for him. And yet he was pleased to do so, because as it turns out, there's really nothing that pleased him more than the thought of us living together with him throughout eternity. Hebrews 12, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, for that which was just on the other side. And that included you and I. As unbelievable as it is, it seems there is nothing that pleased God more than to see the fatherless have a father, the homeless have a home, the orphan a family, which came through an adoption that was signed in blood on a cross, his own blood. And tomorrow morning, millions upon millions of people are going to wake up to music playing and fires crackling and goodies baking and hot chocolate being enjoyed and presents being unwrapped, all the while leaving the greatest gift of all unopened and its contents undiscovered. But by the grace of God, I will not be one of them. Because I have seen the glory of God in the incarnation of the Son for the redemption of the unrighteous, and I cannot unsee it. He is the gift. The gift is Him. That He came and He made His home here so that I may live, so that I may forever have one with Him, is what this is all about. It's a forever home. It's a forever home. John 14:23, Jesus says this, "If anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we," I wonder who that is, "will come to him and make our home with him." Well, where does that happen? It happens right here, in the innermost part, the closest, nearest place to us possible. That's where He comes and makes His home. Now, what does He who keeps my word mean? Because that's who it's for. That's who He makes His home with. Does it mean that I have to become righteous in order for the Godhead to come and to make their home with me? Yes. Yes, it does. But the good news of the greatest story ever told is that Jesus was born of a virgin into the sinful world, living a sinless life as one of us to gift us with that righteousness. It's our only hope. In other words, what this text means by "he who keeps my word" is he who believes on the one who God has sent. John 6:29. It is by faith and faith alone in the Word who became flesh. That's it. Jesus. It's a faith in Christ. No one knows this better than the thief on the cross. You know, there's a guy who had nothing behind him that he could look at, point at, and say, "I did that right. So you got to accept me. You got to let me in," right? And he had nothing in front of him that he was going to be able to go and do, to point at, right? There was no earning to be done. Just faith. Faith in the one hanging next to him. And was it acceptable? Was it enough? "Today you will be with me where I am, in paradise." That's the response. Now forget for a second what your interpretation might be concerning paradise. That's the word that interests us here, usually. I just want you to soak in for 1 second these other 5 words, okay? You will be with me. You will be with me. You know what that is? Home. That's home. The ongoing, perfect, continuous presence of God wherever it is that He is, because with Him is home. With Him is home. Did I mention I like home? I really like home. I really like this. I really need this. So guess what Jesus just happens to be doing right now? You guys all know. John 14, He tells His disciples this. "Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, you may be also." In other words, Jesus right now, among many other things that He's doing, is fashioning for us a home. Right now. Working out all the big and little details that will forever make our hearts shout with joy, right? In unspeakable comfort and belonging. He's busy making us a home, preparing for us a home. That's pretty cool. When me and Carrie built our first home a long time ago, I was a little bit trippy over it, and I mean like crazy excited. And I was working a swing shift at a mill, and I would get off at about 2 in the morning, exhausted. And it wasn't easy to get to Deschutes Riverwoods from the west side of Bend back in the day. There were roads that just weren't real quick. And I would get off at 2 in the morning while that house was being built, and I would drive a half hour out to that lot to see what the progress was that day. That's how excited I was about this home. And obviously, I can't go out every day on site to see the progress Christ is making on that which he's building for me, but it does thrill me right now to know that when it is finished and he walks me into that place, it will be, in every way, on every level, in every sense, the very definition of home. The very definition of home. In the meantime, you and I can be knocked over by pondering this. No eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor heart imagined the things which God has prepared for those who love him. Who love him. I like that. It has a nice ring to it, you know? And I like it because I like home. I like home. But what will undoubtedly make this the home of all homes, make no mistake about it, is him. Is him. God's continual, ongoing, unceasing presence in that place is what will make it home. God came to make his home here on earth so that we could forever have a home with him where he is. So Merry Christmas.